Welcome to the Craft and Business of Books. I'm Tetyana Denford. This is Marissa Hussey. And this show is basically about exploring the tools, the tricks, the tips, the stumbling blocks to the writing process. But also what we want to do is we want to show you the rarely seen perspective from the publishing side. And we'll cover everything in between. So we're trying to basically give you a little bit of information to make the world of books a lot less intimidating. And so let's tell you a little bit about us, because you're probably thinking, why are we in the business of telling you everything about books? So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll hand it over to Marissa. I've spent the last 20 years editing and writing freelance for online and print magazines. I'm also a Ukrainian and Russian translator for Frontline PBS. But recently, I wrote a book, a historical fiction novel called Motherland. It's on Amazon. And it took me a long time, about 4 years, 45 query letters, 8 drafts, I think. And in the end, I decided to self-publish. And I think I pretty much learned as much as I possibly could about this process. And I get so many questions all the time from people that are saying, how does this work? Why does it feel so intimidating? What steps did you take? What was your process? And I think from my perspective, I'd love to approach this from the creative side and the writers that want to know the information.
And I built a career in digital sales, marketing, and product development at small and large publishers in both New York and London, most recently at Orion, which is part of Hachette UK. I sort of specialize in digital transformation, right? And I've founded digital marketing departments, and I've created digital strategies for both publishers and individual authors, such as Kate Moss, brands such as 1000 Places to See Before You Die, products such as Julian Fellowes' Belgravia, and I've sold books in the Harry Potter series. So I will represent the industry for this show.
And that's great, because if I'm presenting it from the writers and the authors that are asking the questions, and you're presenting it from the publishing side, I think that we can maybe cover all the bases and get all the information out there.
Definitely. So on that note, Tetyana, do you want to begin by talking about your experience self-publishing Motherland? Because you have the perspective of having started out sort of aiming down a very traditional publishing path, but ultimately deciding to self-publish.
Yeah, and funny, because I was initially wanting to go the traditional route, because that's what people do. They start writing books and they think, oh, I'm going to get an agent, and that's how it works, you know, step A, B, and C. And I did first query lots of agents, and I did pursue that, and I got loads of really lovely personal rejections. And despite them being rejections, I got a lot of advice, and a lot of agents actually did want to change a lot of the story. And I felt like I was losing control of it. And I really wanted to make sure that I was in charge of how it would read. I was in charge of the cover design, for example. I was the one that had to learn on my own how to edit accurately, how to, you know, and it was really a bit intimidating and complicated, but in a very different way than approaching it, you know, from the traditional side. So taking control of it meant that I could get it on the shelves the way I wanted to. But at the same time, I thought, you know, maybe having an agent would get it on the shelves quicker. I don't know. And I think that's the thing that people want to know from the publishing side, from the industry side. How does that go? Is it a long, drawn out process? Is it complicated? Or is it like magic? Suddenly somebody's an overnight success.
No, it's magic. Yeah.
Oh, if only.
So, I mean, what you presented is, you know, the conundrum, right? There's absolutely no guarantee that you, if you get an agent, end up with a publishing deal. You know, just to get you to the point of the deal being signed. After you get an agent, so much happens. You know, you might work with your agent to further craft the actual book before it goes out to publishers. Yeah. You know, then it gets sent to editors. And, you know, in the best case scenario, you have a bidding war, and there is serious interest in publishers that come back with lightning speed offers and, you know, dog and pony shows to show you just how much they want you. And in the worst case, it sits on desks and nothing happens for a really long time.
Yeah.
So that part is hugely, hugely nuanced, and every book that's published, falls somewhere on a scale, right? Ranging from debut author with no existing fan base to celebrity authors who are actually going to have someone ghostwrite the book for them, right? There are a number of things that gain you or lose you points on that scale, and it's your agent's job to sort of brand you and package you in your book, right, and present you to publishers so that you are, incredibly appetizing, essentially. And the goal being to get you A, as much money as possible for your book, and B, so that you are placed in the publisher's list with as high of a priority as you possibly can be, so that you get all of the benefits.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe the unknown, and I think that's what frustrates some writers, because they're like, well, how do I get to that point? How do I, and it's such a hard industry to judge, because you don't know how those decisions are made, and you might be one of 1,000 new kind of debut authors that might be really good, but then how come you're not on that list? And with social media, there's so much comparison out there that it seems like such a closed off industry.
Yeah. I mean, I think no one wants to hear that there is a hefty dose of luck involved, because that's not helpful. And I think what we'll try to focus on in this show, obviously, is the things that you can do, and that you can, impact. But, and
that's, sorry to interrupt, because that's exactly what I want people to understand. You can set yourself up for success as best as you can. It doesn't mean that it's a guarantee, but at least, you and I can kind of share with people, from both sides, who, what does the industry look for? Sure. And how, as a writer, can I position myself, my query letters, how can I make them really good? How can I make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward,
Absolutely. But we'll talk about all of those things, because, everything I've just described happens before your book is even introduced to the majority of the employees at your publisher. Yeah. After that is all said and done is when your support staff gets to work on your cover design and the marketing materials and your press interviews and the production of the hardcover, and all of that stuff is after this whole blob, this amorphous blob of noticed. So, from the time a book is actually acquired and the contract is signed, the process is fairly formulaic, assuming the world is not on fire, or, an author fails to deliver text or something like that. It's about 9 months to a year before it hits shelves. So you've got that plus all the.
And I think that kind of, that's great. That's really helpful, because I don't think many people know that it takes that long, and I think, from my perspective, because I could control my timeline, that was why I thought to myself, well, self-publishing for this particular book, who knows, I might go the traditional route my next book, but being able to self-publish it, I could control that timeline. So as much as I had, worries that it wasn't edited enough, or that the plot could have been better, I could, if I didn't self-publish, I would still probably be creating more drafts at this point, but I think having that control made me feel better. But it seems like it's kind of equal when it comes to how unknown it is.
Sure. I think that there are so many different ways that you can choose to publish now. So, there's such nuance between just traditional publishing and self-publishing. There's a whole scale there, which is really interesting. And I think it gives a level of control to writers that hadn't existed a decade ago. And I'm, of course, of the fairly controversial opinion, given the context that I have worked in, large publishers for decades, that self-publishing may be the right choice for a lot more people than those who choose that path initially, because I think, it gives you, like you've said, so much more control. And for certain works and for certain authors, actually doing it yourself, it's completely possible, and it may be the better choice for you. And I think one of the things that can really help people figure out here is which path is right for them in their book.
Exactly. So, this, I think we've given a really good introduction to what we do. And I think, I'm hoping that we can answer so many questions, because I'm getting questions thrown at me all the time, and I'm creating a list. And that, I think you and I can empower people with answers. I mean, we're no experts, but at least it kind of demystifies the process a bit,
Sure.
you know?
I know how to sell books.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know?
So I think that's it for us. I just wanted to say I'm really excited about getting into this series. I wanted to thank everybody for watching. The Craft and Business of Books is live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if you guys want to subscribe and get alerted ahead of time, please click the link. It's been really great having you here.
See you next week.